For us?
Tod, can you hear us?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, fantastic! Great.
Are we? Oh, how funny! Isn't this early?
You're actually on, so you're beautifully there, and you can take off if you're ready.
Oh, I see. Great. Okay, well, give us 1 second then. My God. We know you're not in the U.S. because you're running 5 minutes early. That's fantastic.
Well, we were running 40 minutes late, so somehow we time warped, and now we're earlier. So.
Oh my gosh.
However that worked. We can start with your video if you would like, and then you can get ready.
That's okay. I think we're probably ready then.
Okay. Well then let's take the stage.
See, so
I'm gonna leave the stage to the side, and you're there.
I can't hear you too well. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fantastically fine, yes.
Fantastic.
Good.
Well, okay, then
the stage is yours then.
Just
go ahead. Go for it.
I don't know
ready.
if you made an introduction or not, but I'm Tod Machover.
Oh, there you go. You get the stage applause.
Oh, hello. Hi, everybody. I'm Tod. It's really a pleasure to speak with you today. I'm very sorry that we're not with you in Munich, but we're here at the MIT Media Lab. I guess that's a picture of it, but Peter, can you just swing the camera just for a second if people want to see? We're in this, it's a brand new building designed by Fumihiko Maki. It's glass filled with light, a very interdisciplinary lab. And, okay, Peter, come back to me. And what I want to talk about today is about what our group does. It's called the Hyperinstruments and Opera of the Future group. And over the years, we've looked at probably more ways than most people about how music can touch people's lives as deeply as possible, both the most sophisticated music and also music that can be accessed by anybody. And we've looked at ways that technology can build bridges to human expression and also to human performance and creativity through music. So what I want to talk about today are basically two things. A little bit, a glimpse of some ideas about where I think music might be going because of technology, and a little bit about our latest project. It's an opera called Death and the Powers with a bunch of robots, and we'll show you some video at the end. So the work that we do to make tools for music making started about 20 years ago with a project with the cellist Yo-Yo Ma. Yo-Yo came and asked us to think about making a new kind of cello, and I play cello myself, was very interested in that project, and I thought back to when I was a kid. Probably a lot of you know what this is. Yeah? Yes? No? So when I was a kid, Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles came out. As you might remember, Sgt. Pepper's was the first Beatles CD album that the Beatles could not play live. They designed it to be made in a studio, and the sound of the album, the music itself, was a real inspiration to me, but it also bothered me that this fantastic music could only be made offline in a digital studio. It seemed like that was the wrong way for technology to go. So when we started working with Yo-Yo, we started thinking about how to combine the live performance of a great artist with all the intricacy that you can do in a digital recording studio. And we came up with a new technology that we've been developing for about 20 years now called Hyperinstruments. And the basic idea of a hyperinstrument is to take an instrument like a traditional instrument. So this actually is the cello that we built for Yo-Yo Ma. You can see it looks like a cello. It has strings, a fingerboard, a bridge, but it doesn't have any F-holes. It has a funny shape. That's because we put all kinds of sensors into the instrument. It measures the audio, it measures the vibration of the instrument, and we do a lot of work measuring the physical gesture of performance. So this, for instance, is the bow that we designed for Yo-Yo. You can see it has a electronics built into the bow, little circuit boards on the frog of the bow, switches, pressure sensors, and actually it sends out an electric signal at both ends of the bow. The cello measures the signal, and software lets me understand everything about the expression of bowing. So the speed, how much bow I'm using, is a lot of pressure, a little pressure, even pizzicato. And the idea is that the instrument knows what music is being played, but also how it's being played, the expression. So when someone like Yo-Yo or any other musician, we've done this for classical music, for rock music, depending on how the expression changes, if it's faster, slower, more intense, calmer, bring out this note, not that note, the instrument understands and can change and morph. It can become a voice or a flute. A single line can become a whole orchestra, depending on how it's played. So we developed that kind of instrument for virtuosic musicians, and then we realized that the same techniques for measuring bowing and the same software could be used for anybody to make music. It didn't have to be just Yo-Yo Ma. So we started a whole line of work about 15 years ago to make musical experiences for the general public. So we make instruments like, this is a rhythm instrument made out of rubber with little sensing pads in it. I can make delicate or very loud rhythms. Squeezy instruments like this music shaper. I can make sounds, especially by children, just by squeezing or touching this pad. Rhythm instrument like this beat bug, which lets me tap a rhythm and modify it using these little bend sensors. And we developed a whole range of creative activities and performance activities for the general public with this kind of instrument. Software like this called Hyperscore lets anybody use these lines and color to create original music, and then I can push a button and it transcribes that music for regular musicians to play, like orchestras or rock bands. And that's used more and more by children, by adults, by various people. And this kind of work, surprisingly, the cello and the cello bow led to these squeezy instruments, which then led to kind of a surprise. A couple of my students, Aran Agozi and Alex Rogopoulos, set up a company down the block and invented Rock Band and Guitar Hero. They still have this company, Harmonix, that builds these. So the general idea of measuring expression for performance led to high-end performance for everybody, and now to a pretty large public commercial activity that lets people make music. But this is in itself growing very fast. So a couple of places that this kind of work is going next, I think, is you probably haven't heard of a company called EchoNest. If you haven't, you should Google it later today. EchoNest is another small company that grew out of the Media Lab. This company analyzes any music, any audio, and it analyzes, Tristan Jahan is a specialist in analyzing the sound of the audio. Brian Whitman looks at what people say about the audio on the internet, and together it takes any audio and can tell why it makes an impression on any of us, why it gives us a certain feeling. So this software is now becoming very popular for deciding preferences for music. If I like this music, I'll like another piece of music. But it also allows me to take many pieces of music and morph them together, to combine them. It'll do the same thing with image. So it's probably the most powerful package right now for allowing people to manipulate audio in a variety of intuitive ways. In turn, this has led to a company called RJDJ, which you may have heard about. They make mobile apps for music. This is one of the most interesting new areas in music. What happens with RJDJ is they take the EchoNest platform, they commission musicians, usually young musicians, to write new music, and the idea is the music goes on a mobile device and it's not totally finished when it gets to your mobile device. So it might be a piece of music that every time you turn it on, it starts with the same feeling, the same themes, the same texture, but then it plays out. It finishes in a different way every time. An app like Inception, the app, which is one of the most popular apps on the iPhone right now, takes the soundtrack from the movie Inception, puts it in this RJDJ form, and it constantly plays differently. If you shake your iPhone, the music develops in a certain way. If you tilt your iPhone, it develops differently. It also takes in audio. So if you talk to it, sing to it, takes ambient sound from around you, it takes the sounds of your everyday life and turns it into music. So this idea of a musical composition, which is a collaboration between a composer, a performer, and the audience, where the music is always different, is, I think, a field which is developing very quickly that we intend to work on. The general idea of having music adapt to an individual has led us to think very seriously about music not just being a fun activity, but being something that can really change our minds and change our bodies. It can change our health. So we have a large body of work here at the Media Lab, which is looking at different diseases, just definitely your ordinary emotional state, but also diseases like Parkinson's, strokes, Alzheimer's disease. There's growing evidence and growing research that shows that music has a very, very profound and important effect on all of these diseases. So music can help you move. For Parkinson's disease, where people can stop moving, music seems to be the only thing that can help you move again. Strokes, where you lose the ability to move your body, especially fine motor control. Music seems to be the best way to restore movement and also to restore speech. Music has a very important connection to our memories. Music is the only thing that advanced Alzheimer's patients can still remember. So we're using music more and more to restore people's memories through their association with music. And music is simply one of the best ways for us to communicate and connect with other people. So there are many contexts where music can be the only way that a person can actually communicate who they are and what they're feeling to somebody else. So one of our long-term collaborators is Dan Elsey, who's a young man who lives at a hospital in the Boston area who has cerebral palsy from birth. He cannot move very well. He cannot speak at all. But music is the way he communicates. We helped develop a tracking device for his head that allows him to use Hyperscore to make music compositions. And then for the TED conference 3 years ago, you could see this online, maybe you've seen it already, we developed a whole system that uses his head tracking device that measures the movements he's making based on knowledge of how he wants to interpret a composition. And with this information, he can sit on stage and perform his own compositions. Even though he can't always give a beat exactly where he wants to, the system knows what he's trying to do, and it allows him to communicate through his composition and also through his performance. And so we're pushing further with instruments like this. The interesting thing is that this whole body of work is what we think of as a personal instrument, because the instrument we designed for Dan is not like a cello for Yo-Yo Ma that any cellist can play, or a squeezy toy for a child. This instrument is designed specifically for the skills that Dan has and also the limitations he has. So it's a personal instrument. And I think the next stage, which I'd like to suggest to you, is the development of a field of personal music. Music which is customized for a particular person, not music which is designed to be generally attractive to as many people as possible. So another new company that is associated with the Media Lab, some of our former students started it, is called Source Tone. You can also look this up. It's the first company that I know of that allows you to go online, to answer a series of questions about how you're feeling at a particular moment, and then it will generate totally new music that doesn't exist before, based on, it's like a musical psychiatrist. It generates this music based on what it thinks would be most beneficial for you. That's, of course, a big question. If I'm depressed, do I want happy music, depressing music, subtle music? What is it? But that's what this company tries to do. It's a brand new company. You can go online and check it out, and I think it's quite interesting. But I think the next step is that based on the growing knowledge we have of exactly what goes on in our minds when we listen to music, why it is that it makes us feel a certain way, what aspects of music correspond to what reactions, we're going to more and more use this information to be able to customize music, not in a general way, but in a very particular way, so that a piece of music will have a maximum effect. That's a cartoon of me, you can probably tell. Maximum effect on a particular person at a particular time based on your experience, your genetics, your knowledge of music, and what you need and feel at a particular moment. So this field of personal music is what we're working on right now, and I think what we'll devote our attention to over the coming years. Now I'd like to switch to a particular form of personal music and a kind of story about one man's relationship to music. It's the opera called Death and the Powers, which we finished just about a year ago. And we often make large music projects to test out a lot of these ideas. We often do them in opera form because we can bring together music and visuals and technology and story and character all together. Death in the Powers is one of the most unusual operas we've done. It's called the Robots Opera, so it has not only robots on stage, but the whole stage is a kind of robot. We had fantastic collaborators on this project. Robert Pinsky wrote the text, one of the great American poets. Diane Paulus is one of the best young theater directors in the United States. Alex McDowell is one of the top production designers in Hollywood, designs all of Spielberg's movies, a lot of movies with very imaginative sets. And we all came together to make this opera, premiered it in Monaco. Prince Albert was the honorary patron last September, brought it to Boston in March, to Chicago in April, and now it's going other places. It's the story of a man in his mid to late 60s, rich, powerful, successful. He's also a little bit strange, kind of like Bill Gates combined with Walt Disney, combined with Howard Hughes, maybe Steve Jobs in there a little bit. Somebody who wants to live forever, and actually he's tired of the world. He wants to leave the world. He wants everything about himself to stay. So he figures out a way to build something called the system, where he can download everything about himself into his environment, and then he personally can leave. So the main character is a famous singer named James Madalena. At the beginning of the opera, he's just about to turn on the system so that he can leave. And in fact, he does turn on the system. He's disintegrates on stage with a bunch of theatrical tricks, and he leaves physically the stage. You don't see him again as a singer until the end of the opera. And the whole stage, little by little, comes to life. So the main character in this opera really is the stage. His family, his wife Evie, his daughter Miranda, and his kind of research assistant Nicholas are all left to try to decide if they like Simon in this new form, if he's really still human, if they can communicate with him, if the system is great and they should follow him, exactly what is the meaning of this. The whole stage, as I said, comes alive. It has 3 gigantic walls. Each wall is like a robot. It has eyes and ears, so it's choreographed and moves on stage. Has visual displays on each side of the wall. The walls sometimes show pictures, but we try not to show real pictures. You see kind of a shadow of people. Often we use them to show the soul of Simon Powers, his feeling at any moment. So you often get like a gigantic burst of light or gesture on the walls. And to do this, since Simon Powers is off stage, we invented a new technique called Disembodied Performance, which is the next extension of the kind of work that we did years ago with Yo-Yo Ma. And the best way to show you about this is maybe to give you a quick demonstration. So I'd like to introduce, if you step in front of the camera, Ellie Jessup, and I'll give Ellie the microphone too. And Ellie's a doctoral student in our group at the Media Lab, and also Peter Torpe. Peter, you want to step in front of the, you want to wave? That's Peter. Peter's also a doctoral student in our group, and they've been working on all of the aspects of disembodied performance, and let Ellie tell you about it.
Thanks. So as Tod mentioned, one of the kind of key theatrical issues in this production of Death in the Powers is that our main character dies in the very first scene and transforms himself into the theatrical set. So we said, how can we capture that live performance and turn it into something non-anthropomorphic that you can still see and relate to? So right now I'm wearing a variety of sensors. These are the sensors that our main character James Madalena has, and behind me I have a visualization of one of the things on the LED display walls of the set, so you can see it's reacting to my voice, ooh, but also to my movement and my breath. So all of this together combines to you get the sense of life and humanity in a character, even though he's not physically present.
Peter, do you want to just say a little about the software?
Sure. We had to develop a number of control systems for various aspects of the opera in general, one for choreographing robots, but also for interpreting this live performance data and allowing it to control and shape the movement of all the set pieces and the visuals that you see on the walls and how the performance affects the sound, the spatialized sound of the singer's voice who's off stage.
You know what? Mm-hmm. Since we're standing here, we're going to show you a video in a second. Ellie, do you want to just Since you worked on the Chandelier, you want to point out the Chandelier?
Absolutely. So as you may have noticed in the tour around the Media Lab, we also actually have this chandelier, which giant musical instrument, one of the ways in which Simon Powers ends up communicating with his wife, Evie. It starts out hanging above the stage, but in the middle of the opera, he inhabits it. It comes down, and she discovers that it's actually a musical instrument. The Teflon strings have sensors around the top so they can detect as she strokes the strings, dampens them, plucks them. It can excite clusters of strings and shape his voice and the sonic environment through her performance, being able to basically have a very romantic encounter with the chandelier.
And also here we have one of the robots from the opera. So there are about 9 of these on stage at a time, and they act sort of like a Greek chorus. They're actually retelling the story of the human characters, Simon Powers. They can move around the stage freely. They're completely wireless and autonomous, and they can translate, move. They can elevate from about 3.5 feet to 7 feet tall and have lighting throughout them to be expressive.
And since I know time is short, maybe we can run the first video. I have 2 short videos. One's a very short video that shows these robots in action, and maybe we can run that, and then I'll just say a word, and we can show a little bit from the opera. So can we show video 1?
Tonight we delve into a world.
Opera is about the moment when music and voices, singing in particular, becomes drama.
How can we make robots that will be alive and expressive?
We wanted these robots to feel like they had human reactions but didn't look anything like humans.
So I don't know if I'm still there, but I know that we're slightly over time. Sunny, can we run 2 minutes excerpt from the opera, or should we stop there?
Yeah, you can just do it. Just go ahead. And you're still there.
Okay,
We
thanks
see
so
you.
much. So here's just a 2-minute excerpt to give you a sense of the opera, and then we'll sign off and say goodbye.
Billions of bucks, and I can still sign checks.
Thanks so much. Sorry for being a little late, and I hope this gives you a little bit of a glimpse of how we're thinking about one possible future of music, both for professionals, high-end music experiences, and for everyone else. Thanks very much.